Hello, my name is Carl Surrey and this is a video tutorial for two Facebook groups, Fans of Serif Software and Affinity Designer and Photo Group. Now this is part 3 of a set which is called Beginner's Look at Channels, and the Channels panel is found down here in Affinity Photo, and it's the full tab along, and it just basically shows you how the image is made up from the red, green, blue pixel channels. In the first two videos was partly looking at some of the features in the channels and then sort of looking at how to use those features to edit a program, a picture. This one I want to sort of look at more at some of the features that you can use. Now, I will freely admit, and I have admitted in the other videos, that I am very new to using channels at the very least. I've been editing photos for a long time, but I've never really looked into the channels side of things. So I am learning this as I'm going along, and if I make mistakes and doing things what you consider to be the wrong way, you're quite welcome to sort of pick me up and say, no, you should be doing it this way. But this is what I have learnt so far. Now I'm going to use this image here, which I got from pixabay.com, and I'm going to add the link to this picture if you want to use it to sort of follow along. I picked this one because sort of the difference in the colours. I've got sort of behind the tree here where the sunset is, obviously there's pure white in the middle pretty much, and then it's surrounded by this red yellowy glow, and there's red yellowy glow down here on the water. But outside of that, especially up here in the right hand corner, we have the major blue colours. So that if I click on, say, the composite red, where it is lightest, not including the pure white, which I don't think I have any control over using any of these channels. I think pure white and pure black will stay pretty much as they are, but the lighter the area, the more red pixels there are in that area. So on the sea, river, or whatever this is down here, it is very light, and also around the sunburst coming through the tree here, and it's like whiter, and then the whiteness decreases as it comes out, and obviously there is pretty much no red up here in this sky area here, so that is quite dark. If we look at the green, green is sort of average everywhere pretty much. There's a little bit of lightening of the sky up here, so there's obviously some green up here within the blue area, and it is encroaching a bit further into the pure white of the sun burst on the water. So this is where some of the green pixels are in with the red pixels. And if we look at the blue composite, and this is pretty much, I would say, sort of just a blanket of blue, because it's all fairly much the same sort of grey colour. So there's sort of pretty much, except for obviously around this area here, pretty much a sort of like a level amount of blue pixels. If I just click on this reset button here, bring it back to its full colour mode. Now the first thing I want to do is I'm going to duplicate this background layer by right clicking on the layer, and I can come to duplicate, or you can press Ctrl and J, and I'm going to rename it background copy, just so that you can see that the top four channels here, which is the composite, which is sort of all of the visible layers, and the bottom four levels are just the channels for that layer that I'm on. And also I want to sort of protect my original image, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that off. So what I'm going to do is, from this composite channel, red channel, I'm going to right click this and I'm going to click on create spare channel, which annoyingly means I've got to keep dragging this down. I could increase the size of this panel, but I'll leave as it is. So this is the spare channel made from the red. So I'm going to rename this, and I'm just going to call this spare channel red. And then going to repeat the process with the composite green layer. Create spare channel. And then rename this one green. And lastly, with the blue, on the composite version, composite blue, create spare channel, and then rename this spare channel blue, just so I know which one's which. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a pixel layer above my background copy, and then I'm going to flood fill this with white, and for now I'm just going to hide that while I explain something I want. Why I'm doing this is, in a Photoshop tutorial which I originally was going to try and emulate in Affinity Photo, which was basically of a tree image with the sun behind it like this, so which is why I found this image on Pixabay, and they used channels to sort of edit some of the colours out of the way, sort of thing, and add a sort of misty background. I've really struggled to try and adapt this to Affinity Photo, but in my efforts to try and adapt it, I have sort of learned a bit more about how the channels are working. Now, in the Photoshop, the channels are divided into red, green, blue, and black, but in Affinity Photo it's red, green, blue, and white. Quite why they're doing things slightly differently, Serif, I really don't know, but this is, I'm going to sort of recreate this picture just by using the spare channels I've just made. So I've got my white background, and pixel, as you can see, is now, because that's the name of that layer, so I've got pixel red, pixel green, blue, and alpha. So I'm going to come to my spare channel red, I'm going to right click that, and I'm going to load to pixel red, so it will load that into the pixel red channel here. I know it looks blue there, but these are the pixels from the red channel. So if I now come to the green and I load that into pixel green channel, and now you can see the image is slowly coming back together. And then lastly, the blue channel that I made, I'm going to load this into pixel blue. And there we have the image back to where it was, and if I turn this pixel layer on and off, you can see there's no difference between this pixel layer, which is made up from the channels that I've just done, or from the original copy, which was already made up of those 4 channels. So hopefully you can see that that is how the image is made up of red, green, blue pixels with a white background in the case of Affinity Photo, whereas it would be black in Photoshop. So I will now delete this. I will reset a few things. So I'm just going to do that and I'll be back in a tick. Okay, I have reset things and I've reloaded the picture, and as you can see, we just got the 4 composite channels and the channels for this particular layer. Again, I will duplicate this and then just quickly rename this copy. Again, you don't actually have to do this, it's just for my personal peace of mind. So I know I've always got this original layer to go back to if I muck things up, which while I'm learning something is quite often. So I just get in the habit of making a copy. So what I want to show you now is some of the features, like these buttons down here, which is the first one is visible and the second one is editable. Now if I click on the visible button in the composite red channel, it will take the red pixels away, and if I click on the green eye, it will take the green pixels away, leaving you with just the blue pixels. And if I took that away, all you're left with is a solid white. So if I bring back, say for example, the red, which is quite a nice image in its own right, then trouble is I've yet to work out, I haven't fully tested it, but I couldn't work out a way to sort of get this into its own sort of layer and save it. I mean, it may work just going straight to export, but I have a strange feeling it will export possibly all of the layers regardless of whether I have them visible or not in here. Like I said, I've not fully tested that yet, but I believe that's what will happen. If I make the white layer invisible, it just goes back to being a black and white image. So it's that sort of white layer that brings in the color that you have selected. So I'll click on this reset to bring back all the colors. Now the editability button. Now if I click on, let's go with the composite blue. Let's go with the red. Yeah, I'll go with the composite red because it gives me these darker blue up here, and I know that all the red is around this part of the tree here. Now at the moment that is set to editable, so which means I can get a tool from over here on the left. I'm not 100% certain whether all tools work, but I would imagine that most of them will, so you could erase bits or what have you. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use dodge and burn options. The dodge brush will make things lighter when used. So I've got this set on 100% opacity, hardness is 20%, and I'm using it on the highlights, which means I will make the wherever areas I go over, it will make them lighter. And hopefully you can see as I'm moving the cursor around, you get a preview of what will happen once I go over that area. So it won't affect the dark areas because they're in the shadows rather than the highlights. So I'm making the lighter areas lighter, and as we are working on the composite red channel, if they're lighter, like I said at the beginning of this video, they will be redder. So what I'm going to do, I'm now going to click around this tree area, and I'm going to make the whiter, or the white areas of this cloud and the sky, and a bit on the water here. and then hopefully this will make the sky much redder. I'll leave it at that, and I will click on this reset button, and as you can see now, I've now got a lot of red in the sky and on the water. So what I will do now is I will come to the composite blue, and as you can see, as I move the cursor around, it is having an effect there, and I'm going to go over the snow area at the front of this image to add a bit more blue into that area, and maybe a bit up there as well, quite a bit. Just make it very blue, hopefully. And if I just click on the reset button, I mean, as you can see, like, I've gone a bit over the top as far as the blue is concerned up there, but the blue, there's a bit more blue in the sky, the snow area, and hopefully we can compare that. If I click on the invisibility of this background layer and turn this one off, that was the original, and that is what it looks like now. Quite horrible, but it's just for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to come to the green channel now, composite green, and I'm going to turn off the editability. And now when I move this cursor over the green, you cannot see like a preview of what will happen, and if I click and paint on here, nothing is happening. It's because I've turned off its editability. So I will turn its editability back on again, and this time I'm going to change to the burn tool. Now the burn tool will make things darker, so it should make these light areas darker, reducing the amount of green in those areas. So I will take away the green from those areas and come back to that, and that is what you can do using the visibility and editability buttons in the channels. Not 100% certain whether when and where you would use this properly. Like I said, I've just done it for demonstration purposes, but I hope it does show to you and to me as I'm learning what you can do using the channels panel. So that is the end of my little demonstration. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.